this ruling that came down from the NCAA earlier this week about a Louisville recruit. Big Bet Bennett, are you familiar with the story about the G League player getting ruled eligible by the NCAA to play at Louisville earlier this week?
I am very familiar, GP, and I just want to say that if we're going to start recruiting G League players, then I'd like to get started on that. That sounds good to me.
I don't know why we're messing around with low major recruits when we could just go straight down to the Landers Center and see who's playing.
That's real experience right there.
So for people who don't know, there's a young man named London Johnson. He's an American player, and he has spent the past 3 seasons playing in the G League. And earlier this week, he announced a commitment to Louisville, and he is going to be eligible to play next season. He's going to reportedly enroll in January, practice with the team throughout the rest of the season, and then be eligible to play in the 2026-27 college basketball season. And what is amazing about this is that whether it's Tom Izzo, Bill Self, Scott Drew, Tommy Lloyd, Grant McCaslin, you name the college coach, the men who are supposed to have a better grasp on what you can and cannot do, what you should and should not do, than literally anybody else in the world. They have no idea how this happened, why this happened, or if they should be recruiting G League players. Like Tom Izzo went on a pretty good rant earlier in the week about this, and then yesterday at Big 12 Media Day, I'm asking questions to Bill Self, Kelvin Sampson, Scott Drew. I mean, these are the biggest figures in the sport. I said, did you know before this week that you could recruit G League players? Or do you now have somebody on your staff who is prioritizing that? And some of them said, like, I think Kelvin said, I had no idea this was a thing. I talked to my staff. They said, yeah, coach, we're already working on one of them. But like, I no, it wasn't on my radar. And Bill Self is like, and Scott Drew, they're like, I didn't know. I didn't know this was a thing. Don't understand why it's a thing. Just the level of confusion is insane to me. And I think Tom got it exactly right. How did we go from a time where if you were ever paid a penny more than reasonable living expenses to play basketball, you were permanently ineligible to play college basketball? How did we go from that to actual professional basketball players coming back to college to make money, presumably more money than they can make in the G League, playing college basketball? Like, how did we get here? And the obvious answer is the either lawsuits or the threat of lawsuits. This is what Tom Izzo said earlier in the week. He said they're scared of getting sued, so they're just signing off on this. He said, but at some point, and I think this is right, if you want any sort of structure to college athletics, at some point you gotta have the fight or have the negotiation, one of the two. At some point you got to stand up and say, if you want to take us to court, we'll see you in court. But no, you're not allowed to play 3 professional seasons and then come back and play college basketball. If you want to sue us for that opportunity, that's fine. We'll see you in court. At some point, you either got to have that fight or you got to sit down and negotiate, develop a CBA, and create a system that is sensible and understandable for all sides. Because right now, nobody understands what's going on. Because where does it go from here? It's changed so quickly. A year ago, we were, maybe 2 years ago, learning that there were some international players who had, played professionally at various levels, and they were getting cleared by the NCAA. And we're like, okay, but that's that thing. That's not something that's happening with American players. It's just international players in a very specific set of criteria, whatever. Then earlier this offseason, it was a G League player, but an international G League player. So somebody who grew up outside of the United States, came to America, was in the G League, is now going to go back to college. He's enrolled at Santa Clara right now. And the explanation you'd hear there was, well, yeah, okay, but he was never in the draft. He didn't grow up here. It's a special set of circumstances. That's how you explain that. Okay, but now what do we got? This is an American player. This is just somebody who, after finishing high school, decided to sign a G League contract rather than go to college. And after 3 years of doing that is now deciding he wants to go to college and he is cleared to play. Why? Nobody can sensibly answer that other than they're scared of getting sued, so they're just going to say okay. And if that's the truth, which no other explanation makes any sense to anybody I talk to, then where does this stop? Because what some people who are trying to tamp this down will tell you is, listen, all of these stories are pretty similar in the sense that they're all basketball players who never entered the NBA draft and stayed in it, who were never selected in the NBA draft, and who are now wanting to come back to college without ever appearing in an NBA game. So that's the similarity between them all. Anything above that, don't worry about it. Not really a thing. Okay, except for whenever somebody decides to make it a thing, it can be a thing. The only reason this is a thing is because somebody decided to try it. If I would have told you 5 years ago, a G League player calls me and says, hey, are you Gary Parrish that covers college basketball? And I said, yes. They said, hey, I'm a G League player, and I've been in the G League for 3 years, but I've decided I'd like to play college basketball. How is that possible? Could I do that? I'd say, buddy, that's just not the way this stuff works. You couldn't even imagine this. You wouldn't even try it. You wouldn't even tell somebody to try it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even tell somebody to try it because it makes no sense, and it runs counter to everything we think we know about college athletics. But then an international player tried it, and it worked. So then an international player who had been in the G League tried it, and it worked. So then an American player who had been in the G League tried it, and it worked. So what's next? People will tell you, no, the rules are clear cut. If you ever enter the draft and stay in the draft, then you're not eligible to come back to college basketball. That's the rules. I had somebody tell me this yesterday. GP, those are the rules. Okay, but you know what the rules used to be 20 minutes ago? That you can't be a professional basketball player and play in college until somebody challenged the rule, and now you can do it. So what happens when somebody challenges this, and I'm making it up, but it fits the hypothetical. Liam McNeely played at UConn last season. He was a 5-star prospect. He entered the draft, one and done, first-round draft pick. At that point, he signs a 2-year contract, and everything after that is a team option, okay? So just for the sake of the conversation, let's say that Liam McNeely, in his rookie season in the NBA, proves to be a complete bust. He cannot play, all right? Can't get on the court. And in year 2, same type of thing. Can't play. And he's got some whatever's going on. He just can't get on the court. And though this is uncommon, not unprecedented, but uncommon, the NBA franchise that selected him decides not to exercise the team option on year 3. So after 2 years in the NBA, after being a first-round draft pick, after playing 1 year of college basketball, he is now a free agent. He's out of the NBA. What happens if UConn says, hey, why don't you come back and play for us? We'll give you $2 million to play 1 season for us. You're still inside your window from when your college clock started. You're still inside that window that you need to be in. You've only played 3 seasons of basketball, 1 at the collegiate level, 2 at the professional level. The NCAA has previously told us that, you know, guys who played 3 years in the G League can get 2 years of college eligibility. So why can't you get 2 more years of college eligibility or just 1? Either way, let's test it. If they're going to approve London Johnson, what is the argument in not approving you? The only difference between you and London Johnson is he played in the G League, which is a professional basketball league, and you played in the NBA, which is a professional basketball league. Yeah, they're different leagues. One's better than the other, but they're both professional basketball leagues. So then really the only difference is you were in the draft and selected, and he wasn't and wasn't. That's the difference between whether you can come back and play college basketball or not. If so, why? And argue it in front of a judge. That's coming next. That's coming next.
Yeah.
When a second-round NBA draft pick who can't get a real contract gets a phone call from Bill Self and is told, at Kansas, we could get you $3 million to play 1 year of college basketball. That person's going to try it. And the NCAA is then either going to have to approve it or end up in the courtroom that they don't want to end up in. Either way, you can imagine how these conversations went with coaches yesterday. Like, these guys are tired of complaining about the way the sport has been upended and just dramatically flipped around. Like there are men coaching this sport who for years and years and years were told, whatever you do, you can't pay a player. And now it's the first thing they have to do is pay players. The job is completely different. what I gather from most of them is they're tired of complaining about it. They know nobody wants to hear multimillionaires complain about their hard jobs, right? People are struggling. So I get that. But they also would like some clarity. You know, they don't want to be bitching about everything, but they would like to understand, like, who can play for me and who can't and why. Because right now, they quite literally do not understand. Hall of Fame coaches have no idea which basketball players in this world are eligible to recruit and not. It's a weird thing.